Hello and welcome to the Car Care channel, and in today's video we want to talk about some interesting facts about cars. Things that you may have noticed, you may have not noticed, or things that you always wondered about. Let's get started with the first one, talk about it some more. Speedometers. Most cars, everyday cars, are capped at 100 to 135 miles an hour. But why does that speedometer go sometimes to 140, sometimes even 160? Well, if we never get to that speed, why does it go all the way there? There is a lot of debate on this, and there is so much you will read about this, but there's one logical reason, and actually I believe it is the reason for that. They want the everyday traveled speeds to be right in the middle. If you put the speedometer as 100 miles an hour, say the car is capped at that, when you drive on the highway at 70 miles an hour, your speedo will be all the way down and it's not immediately in your field of view. It's going to be kind of on the side. And if you make the speedometer 300 miles an hour, just to be cool, you're always going to be in the bottom. But they actually designed the gauge to be symmetrical. So the speeds you are always traveling at, let's say 30 miles an hour all the way to 70 or even 80, that's always in your field of view. So you can see it right in front of you. Because if they put the actual limit of the car there and you're driving that, you feel like you're maxing out your car. That's not the case. They still want it visible. The range of the car will always be visible in front of you, and that's the point. So why do some cars have the fuel door on the left side, some of them on the right side? You ever wonder about that? And when you go researching, you will hear 101 reasons why. And the bottom line is they're all false. Some will tell you if the driver sits on the left, the fuel tank has to be on the right, so the fuel door, so for safety reasons, that's false. And then the other thing is, they'll say if the car is left-hand drive, the fuel tank door will be on this way, and if it's right-hand drive, it'll be on this way, and vice versa and all that. That's also false. The truth of the matter is, there's actually no reason for it. That's the bottom line. It depends on the design of the car. If your fuel tank is on the left-hand side, you usually will have the door on the left-hand side as well, because it is the cheapest way for the manufacturer to run it that way. If your fuel tank is the right-hand side, then it will be on the right-hand side. But if you have a saddle tank, so saddle tanks basically, they have two compartments connected in the middle. In that case, the manufacturer will see which side has the least amount of components, so it would cost them the least amount to run that filler neck, and that's about it. There's actually no actual reason why. However, manufacturers know this, and they started doing this a while back. Did you know that if you look at your fuel gauge in most modern cars, there's actually an arrow showing you where the fuel door is in case you get a rental car, you're new to the car, whatever the case may be, so you can immediately tell without guessing. We don't want to show up at that gas station, open the door, get out of the car, and realize you're parked in the other way. It's kind of awkward. Did you know that cars in the US since late 2001 are required to have a trunk release inside the trunk? Now, if you are outside the US, please don't judge us, but the idea is, should you ever get locked in your trunk, you have the ability to escape. It's either mechanical or electronic, either way. Most of them are mechanical, but there's one thing very cool. Usually, this is how that handle looks like on the inside. It has a very interesting graphic on it. Yeah, again, don't judge us in the US here, but did you know that if you actually end up in your trunk, how are you going to see where that handle is? It's actually lit, not by power, but they use a specific chemical that when there's no light, it shines and you can actually see it. It's pretty cool. And no, I did not get locked in a trunk. In some certain diagnosis, when you work on cars, you have to actually sit in the trunk, close it so you can see what, and that's how you see it. A lot of modern cars have auto HVAC, and most folks will look at that and never use it, because most folks think when you hit that auto, all it's going to do is the computer will raise the fan all the way up until the desired temperature is reached, then it'll just lower it. Folks, that is not the case. There is so much behind the scenes for the auto mode to work. You should know, and you should actually utilize it, because the way it works is They measure the inside of the cabin air quality compared to inside the box and the temperature. Then the computer measures the temperature, ambient temperature outside. Then actually most cars that have auto mode, they'll have solar sensors, sometimes two of them, to see do we have sun outside and how much and what's the intensity of the heat from the sun. And then it enters all this data into a very complicated equation there to come up exactly where we need to direct the air and what's the blend of hot, cold, and how fast does the air need to be to achieve that desired temperature in the best way possible. It's not as simple as that. It's a lot more complicated, right? But there's a couple more cool things. Did you know that majority of humans can set their auto AC to 72 degrees Fahrenheit all year long and be comfortable? That's kind of a universal range for most HVAC auto systems are designed to work at their optimal performance when you put them at this particular temperature all year round, cold or hot. And the other thing is, did you know that you should actually turn on your AC and with systems with auto AC, turn on the AC in the winter, in the cold? And the reason for that is the system actually changes the AC into a dehumidifier so you wouldn't fog up your windows, especially when you have a lot of people in the car. Let's talk about the old times and the modern times, some old cool features and some new cool features. Starting with the oldies but goodies. Did you know that most cars for a very long time, except if they have a auto dimming rear view mirror, there's actually a little toggle underneath it and it's meant for night driving. The cool thing is it just there's a little trickery with the mirror and it dims the whole rear view mirror. So if you have cars behind you with high, like kind of bright lights, it won't actually blind you and you'll be able to see very well. Now, modern cars, some of them don't even have mirrors. They have a camera in the back. Some of them have auto dimming mirrors. But if you don't have auto dimming mirrors, you actually still have a dimming mirror. It's just not auto. Just flip that little switch and we're ready to go. And the other thing is, have you ever heard the term valet key? Most folks actually are not familiar with that. I hope you all are familiar with it. Usually, folks will have the valet key, but never really valet their car and it just sits there. The best way to know if you have a valet key or not, which you should know, sometimes they're different color, but if they're the same, if you look at the tip of the key, it'll actually have a different shape, and that's how they work. So typically a valet key will open the door, start the car, but not open the glove box or the trunk. The idea is that's where you keep your valuables, so a valet wouldn't have access to them, and that is pretty cool. Now, that is a thing of the past because now we have valet mode because we actually don't have a physical key in most cars anymore. And speaking of keys and valet keys and all that, modern cool stuff. Most cars don't have physical keys to start them. They have the little smart, intelligent key, however you want to call it. But did you know that that key still has a physical key? In case your battery dies, you can at least open the door. But if you look really close at the tip of that key, most manufacturers will put a little flat surface at the end of it. Did you know that that was actually intentional and it's meant to open up that fob so you can replace the battery inside of it? Pretty cool, right? And lastly, let's talk about some interesting facts about cars that have nothing to do with functions and kind of using the car. What is the highest mileage car in the planet? Is it a Toyota? Is it a Honda? Actually, this one will surprise you. The highest mileage personal car in the world, Guinness World Record recorded, is a 1966 Volvo 1800S owned by the late Irv Gordon. Wonderful man with a great story, which you should really look him up and pay respects to him. He passed away, unfortunately. But that Volvo has over 3 million miles. Personal car, single owner. That is a very cool story. And the second thing is, does your car have around 240,000 miles or so? Just over that? Did you know that the distance between the Earth and the Moon is just under 240,000 miles? So if your car have more miles than that, you made it to the moon. Welcome aboard. And what do you think is the most common car in the world? What is the car that is sold more than anything else? Congratulations, Toyota Corolla owners, because 50 million people agree with you that this is a good car. It's actually the most common car in the world is a Toyota Corolla with over 50 million sold across its lifespan. Folks, I hope this video was helpful and informative. I hope you learned something new. If you like it, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some other videos. Until the next video, folks, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and you have yourself a wonderful day.